Not 10 months in, they are making a complete and utter Horlicks of the whole thing. Rachel from Accounts, as she was dubbed by Lee Anderson.
There have been more changes in this policy than there were at the last minute to the profile of the Right Honourable Lady on LinkedIn.
So I have stayed in the United Kingdom to fight despite a sustained attempt to first cancel me and second drive me out. And like so many others, at times when I see what this corrupt, socialist, failed Labour government is doing, it is tempting to just flee. I won't, don't worry about that. But look at these scenes. Now that, can you believe it, is Paddington. Paddington in central London, where I used to travel every night to present my GB News show. We are in deep trouble. And there's a reason that Slippery Starmer looks so despondent today during his government's desperate emergency budget as its big spending, tax hiking policies tank the economy. Look at his face. I actually think he looks like a man who slept with Bonnie Blue while drunk on his stag night, because he knows that Rachel from Accounts is destroying the British economy. He knows he's attached to this woman forever, and there's nothing he can do about it. Regrets? Slippery Starmer sure has a few. Labour is finished. But under this ignoramus, breaking every fiscal policy for growth, I worry that the country could be finished too.
Mr. Speaker, this Labour government was elected to bring change to our country, to provide security for working people, and to deliver a decade of national renewal. That work began in July, and I am proud of what we have delivered in just 9 months. Restoring stability to our public finances. Let me now set out the steps that the government has taken. At the budget, we protected working people by keeping our promise not to raise their rates of national insurance, income tax or VAT. At the same time, we began to rebuild our public services after the party opposite left a £22 billion black hole in our public finances. Ours were the right choices for stability and the right choices for renewal, funded by the decisions that we took on tax.
Now, Starmer has chosen to surround himself with two incompetent women who care more about feathering their own pockets to live luxurious lives on our money than doing the job. Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, she is an embarrassment. She keeps on going off to see the world using taxpayers' money, most recently on a totally unnecessary jolly to Ethiopia, where she wanted to try and go on an African safari.
Who was going to pay for the personal safari holiday that you asked to go on as part of the trip?
There was no personal safari holiday, Tom. I went to Ethiopia. I met the Prime Minister of Ethiopia. I did diplomatic conversations. I went and visited some of the schemes that we had that was humanitarian. My schedule was absolutely ram-packed full of work that I was doing on behalf of the UK government. There was no safari. I was working.
Did you
and
ask
it's
to go
completely
on one? The Times says that you
appropriate.
did.
No, we were working. I was working that whole time. It was never part of the programme.
Sure it wasn't. Because you weren't allowed. But you asked. Because you are shameless. Meanwhile, Rachel from Accounts, while taking money away from all of us, refuses to stop accepting free theatre tickets and even corporate boxes to go and see Sabrina Carpenter at London's O2 Arena.
Many viewers will remember, and many viewers were very, very cross when you had just moved into office, it emerged that the Prime Minister and other Labour politicians and you had accepted donations of clothes. In the last few days, it's also emerged that you accepted free tickets for a corporate box to see the singer Sabrina Carpenter at London's O2 Arena this month. Is that what happened? And if you did, why are free clothes a no-no, but free concert tickets is a yes, please?
I went with a member of my family to see a concert a couple of weeks ago. I do now have security, which means it's not as easy as it would have been in the past to just sit in a concert, although that would probably be a lot easier for everyone concerned. So, look, I took those tickets to go with a member of my family. I thought that was the right thing to do from a security perspective.
Did you pay for them? Because you could pay for them.
Well, these weren't tickets that you could pay for. So there wasn't a price to those tickets. Obviously, I will declare that the value of them, but they weren't tickets that you were able to buy.
You are shameless. But you're not just shameless, you are also incompetent, Rachel from Accounts. So incompetent that at the end of her dire spring statement, she actually issued a threat which was designed to stop any criticism.
And I say to the parties opposite, the British people will be watching. Because if the parties opposite don't support these reforms, let us be clear about what that means. They are opposing economic growth. They are opposing more homes for families. They are opposing good jobs across our country. We on this side are clear about whose side we are on. The parties opposite must decide too.
Absolutely desperate. It didn't work. It didn't work. Indeed, Rachel from Accounts was roasted by Shadow Chancellor Mel Stride. I was impressed by this, I have to say, because he's hardly been a dynamic performer at the best of times.
Speaker, this emergency budget, Mr. Speaker, has brought the Right Honourable Lady to a cold, hard reckoning. She has become very fond recently to talk about the world having changed. Well, indeed it has, Mr. Speaker. This country was growing at the fastest rate in the G7 only about a year ago. And just as the OECD and the Bank of England and other forecasters, and now we learn today, the OBR have stated, growth has been halved in this year, cut in two as a consequence of the decisions and the choices that the Right Honourable Lady made on her watch. We've gone from incompetence, Mr. Speaker, to chaos. There have been more changes in this policy than there were at the last minute to the profile of the Right Honourable Lady on LinkedIn. The result is the worst of all worlds.
And when he really went for it, accusing Rachel from Accounts quite correctly of fiddling the government's targets, the deep state immediately sprung into action. Yes, the Speaker of the House, who has just commissioned a £51,000 portrait of himself, stepped in to save her.
And is not the truth that whilst the Right Honourable Lady said at the last budget that that was a once-in-a-Parliament reset, she rolled the dice on a wafer-thin margin, and she lost. Reckless with her fingers crossed, she fiddled the targets and she missed them.
I'm not sure about the language we use. I think there are better words and more constructive words the Shadow Chancellor would prefer to use.
Can I just point out, thank you, Mr. Chair, can I just point out that all of her fiscal headroom disappeared, not just some of it. In fact,
I mean, that was quite a performance. And you know, I will always give credit where credit is due, and he had a lot of source material, but good on him. Now, after such an important performance, can you believe that all Rachel from Accounts could offer in return was a shit joke about steak? But first, the reason you're watching this show is that it's becoming increasingly difficult to trust mainstream media or the so-called fact checkers who claim to determine which facts are true. And there's good reason for that, given the debate over free speech, the controversy surrounding Brexit, and how Trump and other politicians challenging the status quo are portrayed. But I have the solution for you. It is called Ground News, and it is absolutely the best way to stay informed and cut through media bias and narratives so you can get the facts for yourself. Go to ground.news/outspoken to check it out. But what I want to do now is show you this incredible website and app. It's got an amazing app, which I have loaded on my phone, in action. So let's look at that speech quite recently by the US Vice President J.D. Vance to the Munich Security Conference. My God, it was amazing. He tore into European governments. He tore into the UK for a despicable retraction of free speech. And what Ground News does is instantly collate the 361 sources covering the story in one place. It then shows how that story is being covered, broken down by whether those media organizations lean to the left or the right. It is called the Bias Distribution Service. And if you scroll down, you can see every article about this topic broken down by the political position and ownership of the publication. So in this case, quite clearly, Newsmax and GB News gave fair and accurate coverage which you could read, focusing on how Vance finally had the guts to point out uncomfortable truths to European leaders. By stark contrast, absolutely dishonest coverage from the likes of the HuffPost and the Independent, which you could avoid. What's more, Ground News gets to know you personally, providing you with news stories you're interested in, while also analysing your own biases. So I'm going to tell you about my favourite feature. It is called the Blind Spot feed. And every day, it will surface upwards of 20 stories that you might not be hearing about because of the corruption of the mainstream media. Now look, I know because you're watching Outspoken, you love the news, but for very good reason, you don't trust the legacy media. So Ground News gives you the tools to understand the truth about what is really going on. It's the only way I read the news now. It allows me to see through media bias and manipulative narratives without having to rely on the corrupt and captured MSM. So go to ground.news/outspoken to check it out. I have an incredible discount at my link today. 40% off the Vantage plan, which is what I use for unlimited access. Ground News, I should say, is subscriber funded, supporting my sponsors, supports my work. And for less than a Netflix subscription, you can get all the world's news in one place and think for yourself. So this is a game changer for a news junkie like me. That's ground.news/outspoken. But now back to the show.
Okay, well, I know that the Chancellor hasn't been in this role, Sarah Chancellor hasn't been in this role for very long, but I mean, at least he's not misquoting Shakespeare today. If this was a budget, then it would be the Leader of the Opposition responding. Now, I'm glad that she's still in her place. I know that she'll want to get back to her office for a lunchtime steak soon. But the Right Honourable Gentleman, he talks about budget.
I hate to say it, but we are screwed with that woman in charge. Even the hard left know it, no matter how much the MSM protect their friends in government. Aaron Bastani, not a man I ever agree with, but the sentiments here are correct. He posted, this is the Novara media boss, he posted, serious question, how does the country's liberal intelligentsia and much of the legacy media recover credibility with the public after droning on for years about how Reeves and Starmer are competent? I've never seen politicians burn through their own brand so quickly. The real opposition, as ever, has come from Nigel Farage, the Reform UK leader, who lambasted Rachel from accounts.
Not 10 months in, they are making a complete and utter Horlicks of the whole thing. Rachel from accounts, as she was dubbed by Lee Anderson, will get up tomorrow and give the spring statement, and we all know that over the course of this summer, there'll be very large numbers of people working in hospitality and indeed in retail who will lose their jobs. We know that we're getting poorer. Gross domestic product per capita has fallen for 6 of the last 8 quarters. And all of this goes on as mass migration reaches levels never seen before in the history of our country. And we learn that the last 3 million people that came in from outside Europe under a Conservative government, of the last 3 million, Only 22% are working, and we're paying for the rest, and it's making us poorer. It's madness, and only we have got the courage and the guts to stand up and call it out and to say, we're not against anybody. We're a non-sectarian, non-racist party, but the population explosion has devalued the quality of life of everybody in this country, and we, if we win the next general election, will end this in its tracks. Be clear.
There was also strong opposition from the newly independent Rupert Lowe, who is a new flag bearer of the right. He posted after the disastrous emergency budget, as someone who passionately wants Britain to succeed, I am sad to say that Reeves is simply not up to the job. I have deep fears about the economy over the next year or so. Radical, fundamental and decisive changes needed. The time for half measures has finished. But how much worse can things get before Slippery Starmer finally takes action? To respond now, Father Calvin Robinson. Father Calvin, what an absolute disaster this lot are.
Funny, isn't it? They just spent the last 10 to 15 years commenting on how corrupt the Conservative Party is and how they're just in it for themselves. They're there with their mates, their lobbyists, making a buck off the UK taxpayer. The Labour Party are exactly the same, all about what they can get for themselves, abusing the power that they've been put into to represent the British constituents for their own personal gain. It's a great shame, but it seems the entire establishment is selfish at the moment. We need to drain the swamp, as they say out here in America. I'm not sure entirely how we do that when even the opposition are offering the same problem as the incumbents.
Indeed. Sorry, Calvin, we're just struggling a little bit to see you. We will try and sort that while we're doing that. Let me just tell you the response from Dan Hodges, the columnist from the Mail on Sunday, who said, we're now getting clear signs of a negative reaction to Labour's welfare announcement. And given what we're expecting to hear tomorrow, I'd be very concerned if I was a Labour strategist about what's coming down the track. And the point is, Father Calvin, there you are. There you are. So good to see you. The point is, this is also going to completely divide the left as well.
Well, I hope so, because the right have been constantly divided. We can't seem to get our act together. Back when my Common Sense Crusade was on our old platform, I had UKIP, the SDP, Reclaim, Reform, and Heritage, and all these centre-right parties together to say, can you unite? Can you combine? The right of British politics needs one entity to vote for to get rid of Labour and the Conservatives. Unfortunately, for the last few years, Labour has seemed to be more united than ever. And even when they've got the far left extremists with Jeremy Corbyn, which is their equivalent of Bernie Sanders, and all the way to the centrists and the Blairites, somehow the leftists always know where to vote and who to vote for, whereas we on the right don't have that. It would be lovely to see some unity in British politics, on the right of British politics. But the Conservatives have been Conservative for a long, long time. Reform were coming up over the last few months, but they've managed to implode themselves with unforced errors. And so now we have, of course, we do have UKIP, we still do have the SDP and Heritage and another number of other smaller parties, but we don't have a big Goliath. We don't have a big David to take on the Goliath, rather.
No, I know. And there's a lot of talk about whether the Conservative Party are taking the right approach. I mean, I thought Mel Stride did a good job today, but there's a lot of criticism about this post, Calvin. And the Conservatives posted earlier today, breaking, we got added to Rachel Reeves' emergency budget WhatsApp chat. And then when you go through the WhatsApp chat, it's Rachel Reeves saying, right, you lot, this is getting serious. The tax rises I promised not to do when we won have completely destroyed UK growth. This stuff is so much more difficult than it looks on TV. Any big ideas? And the big ideas include Angela Rayner saying, anyone seen my vape? Then Darren Jones from the Treasury says, we've already taxed cold grannies, farmers, family businesses, even hospitals looking after dying kids. What's next? And Rachel Reeves says, OMG, these figures are shocking, guys. Public are going to know we screwed them over. Really nervous now. And I don't know, Calvin, is that working? Is it really working?
That cannot be real. That cannot be the people that are in charge of governing our country. For goodness sake, we don't know what we're doing. We lied. We broke the trust of the British politics. Where's my vape? Oh my goodness, we are done. We are so cooked. I don't see a way out of this, Dan. I really don't. It's like, even if we manage to get the Labour Party out, the rubbish Conservative Party is going to be in, and they're just the same. No one wants to fix the economy. We had all those years of austerity measures, which brought down the interest rates of our national debt. And then what did we do with COVID? We found that magic money tree that the Conservatives were saying that Labour were all about, and the Conservative Party splashed out so much money over the woe flu that we didn't need to, that the country's in a much worse state than it was to begin with. And now Labour are in, who always they tank the economy. They make things a lot worse. I don't know how we fix it. I suppose one solution might be to stop obsessing over the GDP. It seems that every successive government for the last at least 5 decades has been obsessed with the GDP. And this is one of the reasons we have such mass numbers of migration, because they're trying to balance these books rather than looking at how to create a successful company where people feel productive and can contribute and people care. How do we form patriots and people that love their homeland and want to see it become a better place, rather than how do we balance this sheet and make the money look good on paper, which is what they're essentially doing. Of course, it's doomed to fail if that's the objective.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source, and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.